All right, friends, today I want to introduce all of you to Little Wargame. This is, as you can see, a browser-based RTS, which honestly works surprisingly well. We're gonna just play against the computer while I explain a little bit how it works. Now, it is obviously different from StarCraft 2. For the people that hadn't quite realized yet, this is not StarCraft. This is a game that only has a single resource called gold. And it is a couple of cool features. So if we pick up our worker, which would be this guy, there's a bunch of works going into the gold mine, a workload of 66 right now. We can take it out and we can start a basic building with the hotkey Q. It's all based on the grid, the hotkeys. We can build a house over here, which is basically like a supply depot to increase our population. We queue it back up to make sure that it goes back to work right after. So this is one of the basic buildings. There are, I think, 4 basic buildings in the game. You have the watchtower, the house, the forge, and the castle. But on top of that, you also have 3 different races within one race, really. So I can build human buildings, I can build beast buildings, and I can build mechanical buildings. Mechanical has a workshop, an advanced workshop, and what is it? A mill. The beast have the wolves den, the dragon's lair, the animal testing lab, and the snake charmer. We're just gonna build the wolves den over here. Send this back home. Well, if you take a look at the human buildings, they have a barracks, they have a mages guild, an armory, as well as a church. Church allows you to train priests. So there's not an infinite amount of units. I think there's significantly less units than in StarCraft 2, but you have a decent chunk of units. You can expand as well. There's gold mines all over the map. I can even use my middle scroll wheel. I didn't know that was possible, but apparently it's possible. And honestly, the game, I thought it was a bit of a joke at first. Browser-based game. Now, I gotta be honest, I played quite a few browser games back in the day, you know, when I was in high school. Like, all you could do was play browser games and the Unreal Tournament 99 demo that was installed on all computers. But everything else was basically... Yeah, it was literally just browser games, you know. I remember playing the Flash edition of Portal and having a good time with that. I wish we had a Little Wargame back then, because I've been having quite a bit of fun with it. I've played some games against the computer. I played against a couple of people. It's a pretty tight-knit community. The game just works. Like, everything you were to expect from an RTS is in there. You know, you can shift click, you can A move. You can make hotkeys, although you don't see them. I am using hotkeys, as you can see. You know, I'm just going through all my buildings. I'm already getting used to all the hotkeys in this game. And I think one of the most beautiful things for me that I've really kind of figured out is that it's very easy to learn the game. Honestly, like really, really easy, because it is such a simple setup. There's only a single research and everything, you know, is kind of straightforward in a way. I honestly, within like 6-7 games, I am capable of playing a game. While I remember when I first started playing StarCraft 2, I needed quite a long time to play it, like in order to feel like I was doing something somewhat correct. So I've actually been having a pretty decent time. Okay, we're gonna move in here with my wolves. Not quite sure how this fight matches up. It seems like my wolves aren't entirely powerful. I can also build snakes. Oh wait, I require a snake charmer for that. Oh, he has a little archer in the back as well. My next wolf is about to show up, so perhaps we can just clear back. Not quite sure how good AIs are either. This guy doesn't seem entirely brilliant, honestly. Just out-micro him a little bit. I also like the sounds. I mean, there's no voices or anything. I think there might be some voice acting, but not too much. Like this, it just sounds kind of good, you know? Now we have our expansion up as well, which gives us a little bit more supply. The most effective workload, if I'm not mistaken, is woo! The most effective is 80%. After that, it becomes somewhat inefficient. I can upgrade to a werewolves den. It allows me to train wolves, snakes, and werewolves. That I want to see. That does sound pretty fun. There we go. Werewolves den it is. Attack upgrade of my beast units. I also want that. I don't quite have the gold available for that right now. Oh, this guy is currently idling. I have a bunch of wolves that can still actually go do some stuff. So let's go make them do something. Oh, there's hotkeys for this as well. Of course, there's Q and W. There we go. Wolves seem very broken, by the way. I'm not quite sure who's in charge of the balance design. But I know... so the friend who introduced me to it is one of the best players, like I said. I'm pretty sure he likes playing with wolves as well. So I feel like there's some inherent, you know, there's some bias there. I'm not sure if they actually do any balancing, but let me micro this. You also have abilities. I know there's a unit called the Raider, which seems extremely broken. Yeah, I'm just owning this with a classic wolf rush over here. Hey, he died. That's lame. Hop! Complete destruction. Wait, did he build an expansion or something? What is this guy up to? I don't quite know. Is my werewolves then done yet? How long does this take? This is one of the things that did annoy me a little bit, is that there's no timer on these bars, like there is in StarCraft 2, you know? I know how long a unit is still going to take. Now, some people might like that, but personally, I'm a huge fan of having timers around, because it really allows me to, you know, do everything. Well, that's basically the introduction to this game. So, you know, we got the basics down, and then I decided to challenge my friend, who is the best little wargame player in the entire world, for a little best of 3. So that's what we're going to be doing next, and, well, wish me luck. Alright, so the map is Ravage 2. This is one of the default maps in Little Wargame. This is the most popular map as well. See the workload go up already. Now, I had actually prepared a strategy. Well, if you go up against the world champion, there's only one thing you can do, obviously, especially if you've only played 7-8 games yourself total, and that is proxy. Now, my friend sent me a tier list of the highest tier units in the game, and I decided to just build one of the S tier units, but I'll build it proxied. This is apparently, he told me afterwards, a pretty common strategy. I wanted to go with just a single barracks, so I open up with a house over here, and then I proxy a barracks right away, as I'm trash talking a little bit, as the solid StarCraft 2 player that I am. And just going around the map, blah blah blah. You require a house in order to build your first barracks. As he's pretending to be scared of me. I know he ain't afraid. I'm just checking the hotkeys one more time. I actually was a little bit nervous for this as well. Like, I know realistically, I probably don't have much of a chance, but I actually have some builds prepared, and my mechanics are obviously good, probably better than my opponents. Not in this particular game, but I think I'm quite fast. Because StarCraft is a way more competitive game. It really pushes you a bit more majority of the time. So I felt like once it comes to multitasking and things like that, you know, there's definitely something that I can do. Now, my plan was to pretend that I'm a complete idiot as well. So I open up with a proxy, and then I build a barracks at home. And I was hoping that I would get scouted, and that he looks at my main, is like, oh, my opponent is just now starting a barracks. Man, this guy is absolutely garbage. That was pretty much what I was hoping for, except he didn't actually end up sending out a scout. There is a particular scout unit, which is called a bird. You can build it from the castle, which is the main building that we're hovering over. Or we were hovering over just now. But it's very expensive, and apparently it doesn't get constructed very much. It's a terrible unit, just wasting a lot of cash. So I open up with a thing which I believe is called the Raider. It has a blink ability, very short blink. It's called Flash, just like it is in League of Legends. And my plan is to send this in. Now, what I figured is that my opponent is probably going to be building some early game units as well, but perhaps I can get in with my little raiders, basically before the second unit of my opponent is out, but after the first unit has left already. And then at home, I'm also producing stuff. Like, that is literally my entire game plan. It's not the most brilliant plan that I've ever gone for, but it's a plan that I truly believed could end up working. So here comes the Raider. You see he has a little bit of mana. That's the purple bar. My opponent actually went for a wall. I didn't even know that was possible. And indeed, there is no unit here. I do see that he opened up with a barracks. There's no watchtower. When I was practicing against the CPU, they often had watchtowers. His workers also have a different skin, which is, I think, something you can buy. Or maybe he just gave it to himself, because he's also the guy that I think patches the game most of the time. He's doing some weird worker micro. I didn't know that was possible. And at home, I'm building basically the equivalent of a zealot. I figured that would be a smart thing to do, getting the equivalent of a zealot. You know, and then I just right-click it on my opponent's raider. And then hopefully I can defend. And if I multitask quick, hopefully that will be fine. So I'm going to end up losing my first, I think they're called soldiers, my first little soldier. And now I go in once again. 2 raiders against just 1. I blink forward, trying to get a kill. He pulls some workers off the line, so really delaying his own mining. Then he blinks forward, gets a kill on my raider, but I also take his out, and that allows me to harass a little bit further. Now the second bad boy pops out, and I'm probably in a little bit of trouble. Now, my follow-up plan was pretty simple as well. as I was wondering whether I could blink over that wall or not, which apparently you can't. My follow-up plan was basically going to be to proxy a castle at a faraway gold mine. I thought there's no way he'll figure that out, right? Because he'll think I'm an idiot. And I really had good ideas as well this game, you know. I'm happy with it. Here I was pretty upset that my barracks, that my barracks couldn't float away as a Terran player every now and again. The moment you see the word barracks, you think that it can float, but that's not quite the case. Here I'm hovering over the mage, wondering what it does. I'm like, no, actually the raider is going to be a better unit for me once again. So I'm losing my my little barracks on the other side of the map. His raiders are attacking it. And here I start typing to him. You know, wish I could fly out like a barracks. And also I'm, you know, trying to delay him a little bit. Maybe if he types back, then it's going to be a little bit slower. Yeah, if you're playing against the world champ, you know, if you're playing against the world champ, you got to take everything you can. Absolutely everything you can. Yeah, he jokingly said, I'll add that, because he's also one of the dudes that can patch the game. It's part of the developing team, as well as the best player. Now, my plan here was to build a watchtower, basically in front of my natural, to make my opponent believe that I wanted to expand here, or that I was really afraid of dying and later on expand. Oh, what did I do just now? So I stopped building my little castle. I didn't use shift click. So my worker just straight up moved out of my castle, and now we'll be coming back home. And I don't think I quite realized that, because I was too busy doing other things. He has 5 raiders, which is way too many. I'm struggling a little bit with the micro here, as the unit collision works significantly different than the StarCraft 2 unit collision does, as he's just flashing forward and taking out my one soldier. I have to pull all my workers off the line, and here I realize that my castle isn't building anymore. I'm very confused. I look a little bit sad. This is sad, Harstem. This is Harstem, who got completely destroyed within 6 minutes. I tap out as AC wins game number 1 of our magical best of 3. All right, second game once again on the same map, as it's really the only map that I've played so far. He asked which map can I pick, and I told him, well, I only know a single map so far. Last game I played the human buildings. As mentioned before, the 3 races. You have human, you have the wolves, and you have mech. It's not the most, you know, creative, different races. I was finding it a little bit weird that there's humans and wolves. Like, what happened to the other animals in the little war game kingdom? I don't know, but I decided, you know what? Game number 1, I played the humans. Game number 2, I'll play the wolves. And I actually had a build prepared as well for that, of course, as a well-prepared content creator and well-prepared player in general. I was going to open up with basically the equivalent of a 1-gate expand. So a very fast expansion, just spam the very cheap wolves. They're only 45 gold, while the raider, for example, last game I think is like 110 or 120 gold even. And then, rather than straight up engaging with my opponent's army, I decided that it might be better to send them across the map and kind of base trade. So let my natural castle be more bait. So I bait him into attacking that, send units there, and then boom, my wolves, they counterattack, go for kills on the workers, you know, harassing, multitasking. I thought to myself, as long as I can get into the multitasking stage, I'm going to be pretty happy with myself. Now, there is a major downside to the wolf, and that is actually, what am I typing? Do people ever make the bird? Here I'm asking about the bird, right? 75 gold, useless thing. And he'll tell you not very often, because it's garbage. Yeah, see? I only played 7 games. I realize these little things. Yes, it makes me happy. What was I gonna say? Right, the downside of the wolf is that it's 2 supply, which means you can't build so many, and you need houses very quickly. The wolf does build very fast. You can also get snake, but you need I think it's called a snake pit or something like that. Or a snake charmer. You need something at least. And then you can build snakes. But I'd never built those before, so I was like, there's no shot I'm gonna get these snakes. It also said that they were quite weak. I was giggling like an idiot over here. Because the sound that the wolf makes whenever it finishes, it sounds like, you know, a human transitioning into a werewolf. Like, woo! Like a typical night sound. Very close to the Warcraft 3 sound. So here I'm sending wolfmen across the map. It's freaking fast as well, which made me very happy. Second wolf goes across the map. It's not the prettiest walking animation, but I think it does get the job done. And I was very surprised how much damage the raider actually dealt to my wolf. I was like, holy crap, that seems broken. So I decided to send one wolf around. Here I'm zooming in and zooming out. I'm like, huh, that's very cool. Figuring out what the correct resolution was again in the middle of the game. And I have now 2 wolves at home. And my plan was to build a second wolf then first, but I realized I was going to need a house. House was more important here. So Wolfman comes in. I see he's also trying to expand. I have 3 wolves over here. That makes me kind of happy. So I'm running away with my worker at this point. Trying to get some damage in if I can. Just want to make sure I don't lose my worker. And at the same time, I'm killing a worker on the other side. Just microing my crap over here. And boom. AC is about to lose his first dude. I once again just put away. Second house is done. And at this point, I want a second wolves den. There's 3 versus 2. And this is not a very good fight. Apparently, 1 raider can take on 2 wolves without issue. But 1 raider will struggle with 3 wolves. So I think for 2 raiders, you probably need 5 to 6 wolves. Now, I didn't quite have that yet at this point. So once again, I just decided to send my wolves past and basically go for a base trading play. I think this would have been better if I had 3 wolves still alive. Because now, at home, I have 0 wolves. And my opponent's coming in with the raiders. Well, I have one wolf, I guess. Hey, it's not the end of the world. It's just not quite brilliant for me. Desperately trying to get more things out as I try to start harassing as well. And he understands how the micro works as well, right? Like how the units work, like how they move and things like that. It is a very difficult game. It's easy to get into, but very easy to learn, difficult to master. It's a little bit like mathematics, you know? When someone explains you 1 + 1, it's fairly easy. You see like the advanced mathematics, and you wish you never existed as a person. I'm struggling producing as well. I'm not quite getting all the wolves that I want, and I probably need some type of higher tier unit at this point, but right now I pretty much realized that I'm... I don't want to say dead, but I'm 100% dead, because he has 2 raiders. I have 0 wolves. My counter harass dealt no damage whatsoever. He's mining from a natural. This is pretty much what happens when a Grandmaster in StarCraft 2 ends up fighting against a, well, I guess a silver player in StarCraft. Although I feel like that I did okay, you know, for how little games I played and for how good he is. He's been playing this game for like 4 or 5 years. I think I did. I'm kind of proud as well, you know. Can beat the world champ. All right. GG. Anyone. Let's go over to my verdict. All right, the final verdict on Little Wargame. I've enjoyed myself much more than I thought I would. Like I mentioned it before, this would have been the perfect game for me if I was still in high school. Just playing it on the computers there with my friends would have been an absolute blast. I think this is a sick game, like the ultimate kind of gateway drug to introduce people into RTS as well, whether that's going to be like your kids or friends that don't really like RTS. You don't need to install anything of the sort, and it is fairly easy to get into. There's not a very complex tech tree. There's only a single resource as well, which means that you get used to everything so quick. The grid layout on the hotkeys makes it easier as well. It doesn't feel very buggy. I think the sound design is quite nice, and the overall, like the experience in the client or on the browser is quite nice as well. Like it's all very easy. You can pick maps. You can play 2-on-2s. I think there's also custom maps that are sometimes going on. It's kind of a tight-knit community because right now there's only 15 players around. I think the strength of Little Wargame is also kind of its weakness. It does feel like it does lack a little bit of complexity, and I'm not entirely sure if this is true, but I believe that there's also going to be some serious issues with snowballing. It seems really difficult to get back into the game if there's no second resource. It all seems very linear, but it's hard for me to judge that because I simply haven't played enough. Overall, I'd rate this experience a 4.5 out of 5 Harstems, which is my rating system. I think this is absolutely perfect. This is the ultimate gateway drug, I think, for RTS, for younger kids, for people that aren't into RTS yet. And even if you're an RTS veteran, I think you can have an absolute blast with this for at least a little while. So yeah, if you want to try it out, I'll leave some links to the Discord and the game in the description. This was not a sponsored video. Maybe I should have mentioned it earlier. I just like RTS as well, and if there's new cool RTSs that have a low bar to get into, then I'm always down to play. Like I don't want to have to learn 5 hours to enjoy an RTS most of the time, because that's what I have StarCraft for. But this was absolutely perfect for me. I had a great experience, and I'll definitely be playing on the ladder or finding custom games against friends a little bit more often on Little Wargame in the future. All right, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you did enjoy this. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If there's any other RTSs you want me to play, review, judge, then be sure to link them down in the comments and I'll have a look. I'm not really too much into other types of games, I think. I don't really like FPS most of the time, so don't link me that. But an RTS, I'm always down for. All right, that's going to be it. Bye-bye.